Hello and welcome back to the Keep It at Real Estate with Chris and Jennifer Bober. Here, we're realtors here at Nebraska Realty. Thanks for joining in with us today, whether you're listening or watching this. Welcome to 2023, right? We made it through last year. 2022 was quite a year. It was a year of shift. Would you say that? From January to December, we saw a market that was very different by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is we had our best year ever.
Yeah.
Most volume we've ever produced between Jen and I. It's just Chris and Jen, Team Bober. So thank you for everyone out there who has referred us, who has used us. But in a shifty market, we had our best year, and we're looking forward to another great year this year. Really quick, as a reminder, if you are listening to this podcast through a podcast app, be sure to just subscribe to this podcast so that you get notified when we do new episodes. If you're watching this on YouTube, down at the bottom, there's a subscribe button. It really helps our presence if you would subscribe. You can even click the little notification bell. It'll tell you when we put out new videos.
Right.
We don't just do podcast videos on there. I do tons of YouTube fun stuff on there. And then, of course, wherever you're seeing this on social media, there should be a link down below to go to our website, to go to our page, our YouTube page. Any way you can follow us would be very grateful just to get the message out. Again, we're joined, Jen and I, here today. Again, as a reminder, our website is teambober.com. So 2023 is all things new.
Yeah.
And we actually have a new website, So we have updated our website. It's kind of funny how fast things move. Some of the functionality wasn't as much as we wanted it, so we have that there. We can put our listings there. We have everything about what we do, who we are on there. Great resource, and then links to all of our social media from there. Now, coming out of 22, we took the end of the year to kind of redefine who we are and what we do. And to recap, our mission is to build relationships by providing excellent service to exceed our clients' expectations. And that just is a, kind of what we think is important for what we do.
The way we do it is, kind of the words we identified that we want to be about is authentic hospitality.
In fact, we did define those a little more specifically. So how we accomplish that mission is to educate and empower our clients.
Yep.
And you guys are a part of that. Our whole mission, whenever we put something out there, is to educate you so that you can make great real estate and empower you to make great real estate decisions. We do provide authentic hospitality, right? Truly from the heart, coming from a level of service.
Right.
Trying to listen to our clients and identify their needs and doing that. And we have client-first representation. Our clients' interests are above our own interests, above the other side's interest. Sometimes it's humbling, but we do have to always put our clients first. So that's how we do it. And we talked about some of the new things, and not even really new necessarily, but we are definitely updating our systems as we go through. I'm an engineering and math guy, right? I'm very systematic on what we do, and I think that has helped our business, helped us work together. And today we're going to talk about our listing system. And this is the same listing system we've always had, and we are just now updating it to the current climate and conditions that are out in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, when you see a shift, certainly you need to go back and reevaluate your systems and shift accordingly.
And this is a system. When I first got in the business, I was selling land with Cabela's, and I wasn't provided all the resources I am as a realtor, so I created a system. I brought it with me when I came to be a realtor in 2013, and I've continued to use this very extensive system that's gotten great results for our clients. Of course, Jen joined me a couple years later, and we've continued to hone down on this thing to make it a great system. And what we've done is we're doing that again this year.
Yep.
Just because the market's changed and the world we live in has changed. We're going to talk about what our system is and how we've tweaked it a little bit for you guys to have a great experience. But the first thing we're going to talk about, and I think this is critical to understand what the definition of a seller client is for us.
Right.
And many people think we just, put a sign in the yard and pray that someone will sell it for us. But the definition of a client for us is someone who's willing to go through the challenges of listing and marketing their home and to go through that process. And we really stress that you have to experience our process to get the best results, right?
Yeah.
And we've have over 20 years of combined experience that can be put to work for our seller clients. So that's a big deal. Okay, before we get in exactly our listing system is, another great tool is to help define the timeline of the challenges of listing and selling. And I've broken it down into 3 different periods. The first one is the pre-listing period. And this is the period before you put your home on the market. And the reality is once you become a homeowner or a property owner, you've started this pre-listing period.
Yeah.
We always advise our clients to prepare the property they own, the home they own, for when they're going to sell it. So over time, you're going to make updates. You're going to do things like that. Specifically where we come in is this is where we help our clients prepare to get their house up to date. And we'll say some of the things we do, but this period is important to understand. A lot of work needs to be done to put your property on the market and be represented by us in Nebraska Realty.
Yeah, and I think whatever work needs to be done is going to vary by each client. Some people there is a lot to do, some there isn't, but there is always some sort of period of time prior, and that I enjoy, I guess, coming in that time and just sort of you want to really position yourself to hit the ground running in the most powerful position, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but and so this can become it is a very important time.
Yeah, and not only is the property need to be enhanced and made ready for the market, but also a lot of times the seller, right? And that we help people through that process as well, because you have to get your get your game day hat on.
I think that's just as important as getting the property ready.
Absolutely,
is getting the people ready.
And a lot of what we do when we sit down with our people is just that. So once you have made it through those, and we help you through that, and we launch your property out to the market, and we think of it as like a grand opening, right? We want to put it in its best light. From when we do put it on the market, where the public can now see it, and then both customers and then other agents can come in and view the property, all the way until it actually goes under contract. We call that the listing period. And over the last several years, that listing period has gone from an average of 30 days to about 3 days.
Yeah.
So a lot of the work that has to be done, like there's the same amount of things that have to get done that always have to get done within these periods. When you're on
more condensed.
And when you're in a truncated timetable, sometimes you have to do those things maybe before. And we've really educated our clients on what the expectations are for that. Okay, you go through that, you get offers, you put your property under contract, and as realtors, we put the sold sign on there. That's not really true, right? The property's not sold, right? It's not sold until we get you your money, or for buyers till we hand them their keys. But the property is not sold at that point. It's pending. It's under contract. And it goes to what we call the escrow period. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're going to talk about that. But that escrow period from when you have an accepted contract until the deed is signed and the money has been put through the bank, that period is the escrow period. And that our job is to get you from where you are now all the way to closing. And in order so those periods are very important to understand, and we'd like to lay those out there because we show you what we do within each period, and that's what we're going to talk about here a little bit today. So this is our updated listing system, and when people call us about listing and selling property, we will give a very detailed explanation of what we do, and today we're going to kind of high level it. And of course, if anyone out there has questions, just reach out to us to do that. But we are still of the firm belief that we need. We're not just going to say, hey, listen, I want to sell my house. Like, okay, I'm going to sign a lockbox over. Right? There's a lot of understanding that needs to happen before. So we don't ever take on seller clients without what we call a seller consultation. We do the same thing for buyers. The first thing, actually, there's a step that goes in there that I like to do before is to preview the property. And usually this is like a 10 or 15-minute meeting. Someone can meet me at the property. And I'm going to go through and take a whole bunch of pictures. And these pictures are not for the market. They're for me to go back and do my work of preparing for a market analysis. That step really I can't show up and give you an evaluation of your home without having seen it.
Right.
And of course, there's several steps that we have in there where we have phone calls where we have questions that are asking about updates to the property and the status of, home ownership, the status of the mortgage, things like that.
I think it's just only fair to do that due diligence. I think there's sometimes a perception out there that's like, well, just look my house up on the assessor, or go Google it and you can see it. But that is just a fraction of the information, and it's our job to be very diligent in all of the data so you can give a much better representation in the end.
In fact, we actually have a questionnaire that we will call a seller and ask them before we'll sit down with them, just because we have to paint the entire picture.
Yeah.
And so many times...
And that becomes important down the line in
Absolutely.
other parts of the process that we'll probably get to.
Yep. And one of the biggest questions we always ask people is why they're selling. we need to get down to the true heart of the matter and be able to bring them back to that as times somehow get a little rocky. We need to know their motivation for selling, as long as as well as their timeline and of course the property and stuff like that. So
it's amazing too how many different types of motivators there are.
Oh yeah, some people are driven by I am specialized in foreclosures and short sales. Some people have to sell or the bank's going to take them and they're going to go bankrupt. Some people want to make a big profit. Some people need to move to a different school district or they have a home. Some people, mom and dad passed away. So we have to really build the relationship.
Yeah.
The relationship's a word that we say all the time, but we do enter into a relationship. Yeah. Not just an agency relationship, but usually a pretty personal relationship with our seller clients especially. So then what we'll do is we'll set up a meeting for Jen and I. We always do this together. Well, we don't do everything together. We do this part together. We will have our consultation meeting with our people. And the first thing we do, and this is what Jen is so good at, is we are going to sit down with you, and before we even talk about selling your property, we're going to want to get to know you. We're going to ask questions and listen.
Yeah.
And we need to know your motivation. We need to know your timeline. We need to know all the details of who you are as a seller, but also the property.
Yeah. And it's important to be able to do that in a timely manner and, connect and build trust and things like that, because I don't think people realize what they're about to go through and get into. And I wish we had a crystal ball. I always say, where's my crystal ball? I wish we had a crystal ball and could see all the things that are going to happen in any given situation. But having that trust out of the gates in each other is really huge, getting through the process.
Yes, it is a very close and personal.
Yeah.
It's up close and personal in this, and that's why we take the time to do it.
Yeah.
So when we sit down for this meeting, again, we're going to sit down, we're going to understand the situation, and then we're going to outline our listing system to our clients. And we have a presentation for this. We have some great tools here at Nebraska Realty that allows us to put this in a digital format to present it visually to them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about these steps in our system, but they also really highlight the services that we do provide. Most people think, well, you're going to take pictures and put it in the MLS, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. And along this line, as we go through this, we're going to talk about how things have changed a little bit as our market has shifted and how in 2023 we've had to really kind of refocus and retool how we do these things. So the first thing that we're going to do is a market analysis. Now, we talked about I'll come over to the property, take pictures, understand the situation, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a good amount of time putting together a market analysis. And what I'm trying to do in that sense is to take your property, identify truly and wholly what it is, and then try to figure out its place within the market.
Right.
And there's so many factors that go into this.
And Chris really does a great job. I will give him most of the credit on this. Just having that engineer mind and that sort of analytical, this is a huge value to our clients that he brings to the table much more than I do.
Yeah, and within our presentation, we have a couple of different phrases that come up, and the first one is, properly pricing a piece of property for the market, for its condition and the market that it's in, is usually 90% of the battle.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh.
It sets the tone and the velocity for the listing process. If you have the right tone, which means you priced it correctly so that the buyers see value in it, that takes down their guard. Yeah. And then the velocity is, if you have to continually adjust the property down, well, then you slow any momentum that, when you put a property on the market, usually it's a grand opening and you have a window to get those people involved, interested, but it's a short window. And once you get out of that window, there's not much you can change except the price. So we try to get that price right.
Well, and I think, in anything, it's wanting to be proactive, not reactive. And so those initial steps are so critical so that you don't put yourself in a reactive situation as a seller. That usually doesn't come along with great feelings when you have to be reactive.
Yeah, and the way I always outline it is I promise our clients, I said, you will see the market and you will see where your home fits. And we let them make the decision on how they want to get started with the price and things like that. But I've come up with a way to visually show them the landscape out there and then try to help them figure out where they want to start and place their home in that market.
Right.
And there's a lot of work that goes into that. A lot of understanding, a lot of experience needed. So that's the market analysis and we go through that. Another service that we kind of offer that kind of goes along with this or right after it is, and Jen is so good at this, is just property enhancement.
Oh.
We're like an advisor for property enhancement.
Yeah, I mean, I spend hours upon hours a week with buyers. And so I really love all sides of real estate, but, going out and showing homes is one thing I like a lot. And so I listen to the dialogue. I understand what these buyers like, dislike, what they're kind of being critical of, things like that. And so then when you go into the sell side of things, you can kind of bring that perspective to them and help them understand, how's a buyer really going to see this? And, what things do I need to do to my property to make them, really get excited about it? So,
yeah, and every situation is unique. However, we can lay our experience on there and say, okay, well, you should probably do this, and you might not have to do this.
Right. I think there's a misconception sometimes that like every closet has to be perfect and I need to redo the bathroom. And, a seller can easily become sort of overwhelmed by what they see their house as needing. But we can come in and kind of give them a more of a realistic look at that.
And again, it's not one size fits all. I have clients who I've sold that are their property's in pretty bad shape, and I've advised them to do nothing, and investors come in and buy them. Yep. Of course, you're going to experience a different price point, but I'm not going to go in there and say, well, this is horrible. You need to rip everything out and redo it, because that doesn't fit their situation.
Right.
So it is indicative on what the client can do or is willing to do too, and then we help explain what that means. So as you go along that path, get towards the documentation that's required for that, and we walk you through all that. Then we start with the marketing, right? And Jen and I, this is where we kind of split roles.
Yep.
Right? So what Jen's going to do is Jen's going to help get the documents executed and everything needed, and together we're going to make arrangements for the professional photography and things like that for the situations. Jen's going to go and kind of get that stuff in order. And we have checklists, we have ways that we ensure that we're doing everything properly, that I'm going to go over and work on the marketing side. And of course, this is where you probably see the most of what we do, right? Because it's very evident. And, we want to make your property look fabulous to the most amount of people to get the most interest.
Right.
And I have myself a very extensive checklist of where I put it, whether it's websites, social media, videos, how I put it out there. We're going to send it out to all the other realtors. Yeah. We are going to promote it, of course, signs and things like that as well. But the marketing plan is where I'll spend a lot of time and a lot of our resources to get them, get their property out to the most amount of people. So I have a very defined one, and our clients receive that marketing plan. Then they see what we do, so they can see our value in that. Of course, we do that, and then Jen also on her side of it jumps into a very, very important part of what we do is our communication plan.
Right. Yeah. It's a big deal communicating, and everybody wants to be communicated to slightly different. And so learning that and just making sure client or clients, if it's a couple, if it's an estate situation, you've got five people making decisions. How does that work? How do we organize ourselves? Most people like more information than less, but once in a while I'll run into people who are like, Jen, you don't have to call me every Friday. You just call me when you need something or something's happening. So everybody's different. And so I enjoy kind of understanding that, there's the communication to the client, which is the most important thing, but there's also just managing the transaction, which I feel you're probably going to get to in a sec.
Oh, totally. And, in the communication plan, it comes down to really us wanting our clients to feel like we're being 100% transparent.
Yes.
And we want to be responsive to their needs. And so many times, Jen always says it's the number one complaint for realtors, if you look at any surveys or things that are done, is they don't communicate well enough. Well, we like to over-communicate. I'm lucky enough to have someone that's one of their skills, is communication. So super big asset to our team and what we do is that communication plan. And then, of course, as you go through the listing period, we'll help our clients negotiate and structure the sale. Yeah. And this is something that we both jump back into because it takes a lot. And this is, I would say, this is probably the skill that we can do for our clients that they probably can't do for themselves.
Well, and you talk about the shift, right? This is becoming this is what real estate is negotiating and structuring deals. And that has been different for a number of years, but I feel like it's balancing more out to where it used to be, so to speak, where it's effort and it takes professionalism and skill and things like that.
Yeah, and as we've gone through this, what we're anticipating and seeing as more of a balanced market, the changes that we're making in these services that we offer, obviously we're going to communicate the same as always. Our marketing is always top notch. Our market analysis is dictated towards what we see in the market and what's coming in the market. But when we help negotiate and structure the sale, we have to keep in mind the ultimate goal, which is to get the property sold. And we had to do this in a different way when the market was moving really fast, right?
Yes.
We had to help people, we had to present multiple offers. So it was a challenge in literally trying to get people to understand between these 10 offers what they all entailed. Now, so because there's more of an even ground between buyers and sellers, there is more negotiation, right? What we're seeing come back into it is inspections, right? And we've had to really hone our skills in the inspection process. In fact, just this week, we had a client we put under contract as buyers, and we went over there, and there was a major issue with the inspection.
And something probably wouldn't have been seen without that inspection.
Yeah, and
as you digged into the history of this property, you kind of found out, you made some conclusions, I think, based off of that.
Yeah, I think what happened was this property sold a couple years ago, and it looked like it was listed at X amount. It sold for X plus, which means they're probably in a competitive situation, and there was a good chance that they foregone
their
inspection to win the deal. Well, turn to find out there's a major issue that now in this market, with inspections being back in popularity, like they should, it's showing up, and it's we're always in the mind frame of protecting our clients, and inspections are doing that, and so we're having to hone our skills to navigate the process of inspections.
And even in the years past, I know we've not always been comfortable with, like, we wouldn't advise a buyer to go into something without one.
Yeah.
It was just the volatility of the market at the time. And so, this week, in fact, we had a very real experience about how a home inspection was valuable.
But that takes our experience, because that within a purchase agreement, it's 10 to 11 pages long, and there are so many terms in there that people need to understand that all affect the deal.
Yeah.
Whether it's the money down, the financing. Financing is a big thing. We are having to re-educate ourselves about different types of financing that are starting to show up. Appraisals are becoming one of the things as the market slows. They are starting to take hold, and you have to understand that comes down to pricing. The closing date, the earnest deposit, the warranties, all these things take into account here. And our goal is to help people understand the contract and the terms of the deal so that they can make the best decision. Try to position them in order to get what they want, which is the sale of the property. So that's where we've really had to, it's different now, right? Right now, buyers, we got them under contract. We got to go help them with an inspection.
Yeah.
Where last several years, even though we didn't like it, we're going around inspections.
Yeah.
So on the listing side, we have to be prepared, our clients, that their property is now more competitive, right? And people want the inspection, so we have to have our eye on some potentiality in problems that we have to help them work through. And the reality is the sellers these days are having to acquiesce a little bit more to what the buyers want from the inspection, and we just have to prepare people for that.
Those sellers
get
for
them
that.
through that.
Yep.
That's a whole new negotiation.
Yeah.
It really is a negotiable piece that has to be gotten through, or else the sale doesn't happen. So that's a huge part of just getting that deal to the place where we can try to get that. And then, of course, once we go through that, we talk about transaction management. And that's where the inspection comes. Boom, you're under contract, the sold sign goes on. But then you have to get all the way to closing. Jen is our transaction coordinator. We talked about inspections. What are some of the other things within the transaction management?
Yeah, so I really like transaction management. It's working with there's on average 8 people that are typically touching every single transaction, from seller, buyer, buyer's agent, seller's agent, inspectors, title companies, appraisers,
termites.
The lender, the big one, termite guys. So, and that's just a normal transaction. And so the transaction management piece becomes really important. And I, again, have a very strategic way I manage this. And I enjoy kind of communicating with all the parts and getting, because really we all have to work together to get to the closing table. And so obviously the lender is a very important piece of that. And so just right out of the gates, once we go under contract, within hours probably, depending on when we go under contract, I'm calling the lender. Well, the lender we've probably talked to before we went under contract, because you want to make sure it's a viable buyer and things like that. But so title companies, just starting to starting the process, making sure everybody has all the documents they need. Not everybody needs everything, and organizing all that stuff. But it's really where the bulk of my work comes in, is from accepted contract to close.
And a lot of it's behind the scenes. So
Yeah,
you might
it
not,
is.
we tell our clients what we're doing, but they might not see that Jen has a checklist and people that she calls either every day or every week to make sure that the deal is set to close and it's on time. And if you haven't noticed, her gift is hospitality. And by being hospitable to the people, we get a lot of stuff done that way.
Yeah,
So another benefit for us is basically being nice to people. And
Right, and I think I didn't realize it until a few years into the business that I was just kind of being me. And I had some feedback from a few title company and a couple of lenders just saying, really appreciate your professionalism, and you don't get worked up, and we have a stack of stuff, and when we know you call, we want to pick up the phone because we know you're going to be nice, essentially, which was a little bit of a surprise to me, because I'm like, people aren't nice, but people aren't sometimes. And so it was kind of nice, but it all goes back to that's a benefit to our client.
Yes.
And it's really, really important, because things do happen in real estate that can get you a little worked up, but there's no sense in being like that.
And it's also helped our clients get deals put together just by building a reputation and a rapport with our peers out there, the realtors on the other side. We have great working relationships with so many of them.
Yep.
And it's really refreshing to hear when people say, we want to work with you.
Well, it is. It's nice, and you don't expect it, but it's really nice to hear. And I think that it's kind of a behind-the-scenes benefit to all of our clients that really we get to pass on to them, because to work with another good professional on the other side of a transaction can literally make or break their experience. This last end of the summer had some. It doesn't happen a lot, but it was a reminder in how important that is, because it was a little challenging.
Yes, the agents on both sides are very instrumental, and we're lucky to try to put a reputation out there so people know what we stand for and want to work with us. Yeah. So that's a big part of it. Now, the last thing is, and this is an everlasting thing, it's kind of evergreen, is we have a client appreciation program for anyone who's referred us or worked with us. We do fun. We do a lot of fun things.
I like to have fun.
Jen likes to have fun. We all like to have fun, but Jen's good at it. But we do pop buys, we do parties, we do get-togethers. We continually stay in contact with them, see if there's anything we can do for them after the transaction or as they prepare for their next one. And what happens is people appreciate that, and when we do a good job for them, we're rewarded with their referrals and the repeat business. So that's probably the number one, the first thing we do is take care of our people before, during, and especially after they have used us, because there's such a force out there to continue our business and continue the success and help us make a living out there.
Well, and they've allowed us.
We really appreciate.
All of our clients have allowed us to come into a unique situation with them, and we don't forget that.
You get to pull back the curtain and see people's real side. And it isn't something that maybe the whole world sees, but I think there's like a mutual respect when we help them through that stuff, because there's usually something that takes it off stray, and we help them get back on it. So we do. Appreciation is such a big deal for us. So I guess as we talk about and wrap up our listing system, the takeaway here is that we are trying to prepare to provide the best service we can to our clients for this year, for this going forward. And we're constantly trying to get better. We're never satisfied saying, well, this has always worked, so this is the way we're going to do that. We think it's very dangerous. And we are preparing the journey for you to selling your property. And we are just trying to be proactive, trying to stay in front of what's happening in the market so that our clients experience or have a great experience as they go through this, or as good as possible.
And I'll reiterate, we don't have the crystal ball. We can't always predict what's going to happen, but I feel like we're always kind of like, we're waiting and ready to always put the client first, whatever pops up.
Yeah, we don't really kind of buy into like the hype of what's going on out there. We have like real data that we've shown you guys out there if you've watched or listened to any of our previous stuff. It's more about, okay, what's happening, what's probably going to happen, and how are we prepared for that? Not like, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end, or oh my god, not too high or too low. We're trying to remain steady to keep our clients calm.
Yeah.
And both current past and future clients.
Yeah.
That's our goal there. So, that's kind of does it for our listing system. If you want to learn more about how Team Bober can help you sell property, or if you have someone that you know that might need of our services and you think our system might fit them, of course, you can always reach out to us. Our information will be wherever you can find this. We're going to have links to our website, teambober.com, the new website that has new and great things on there that have been updated. And as a reminder, if you are watching this, or listening to this podcast, click the subscribe button. It really helps because it gives us more presence out there. If you're watching this on YouTube, another great visual tool for us to get our message and help people. Subscriptions always help. You can always leave comments, ask us questions. And if you're seeing us on anywhere social media, our handle is at Team Bober. And that's for Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of them. TikTok. You can watch me on TikTok.
Oh, boy.
But again, we in a shifting market, we had our best year ever, and we know that's going to continue to shift, as quite honestly it always does. But there was a dramatic shift this year when interest rates doubled. The market got challenging in a lot of different ways, and we continue to thrive in that market, and we'll help our clients thrive in whichever market's out there. So thank you so much for listening to us or watching us today. And again, you can find us at teambober.com and at Team Bober on any of our social media handles. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, even if it's just to say hey, or if you have any questions, we're always here to help. So thanks again from Team Bober and Nebraska Realty. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.